Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. It's got to be morning somewhere, right? Well, I'm Patrick. Have Cheetah Will View, 8 questions with. Welcome to the show. Um, Tonight we'll be interviewing actress producer Devanny Pinn. She'll be with us in about 15 minutes or so. Um, yeah, super glad you guys are here watching the show. Appreciate it. Um, Hi, Jamie. How are you? We're ready to rock and roll today. How is Indiana? Hopefully a little bit cooler than hopefully a little cooler than we are. Hey, Cody Ray, how are you? How are you? We are interviewing actress Devanny Pinn. Hi, buds. How are you guys doing? Anthony, how are you? Only 1,200 to go till 5. You're not that far away, my friend. You're not that far away. No, Decker, growing up like a weed. So we are interviewing Devanny Pinn tonight. She's an actress and producer, and she is also known as a screen queen. And this will be a fun interview. I've actually known Devanny and mostly her husband Brandon for quite a while now. I'm just starting to get to know Devanny, and she's a very cool lady, very cool, and very busy, very prolific. And I feel sort of bad, even though we're calling her a screen queen. I got to say that she does a lot more than just a screen queen. She's a pretty talented actress as well. Um, she has done such movies as Crossbreed, The Dawn. She's got new movies coming out. She's got new movies coming out that are this fall, including one called Frost. That looks really good. One called The Flood that she went down to Thailand to film. She's also got another film called Death Count that's coming out that she's doing with Sarah French, and she's also played some real life people too. One of the movies, in fact, the movie that I actually got introduced to Brandon, um, and that was House of Manson, where she plays Susan Atkins. So we're going to be talking to her about that, about some other projects. She's also, like I said, she's also a producer. So she is very prolific. Oh, it's hot as heck down there. Yeah, it's today's not so bad. It's 79 right now here in Michigan, so that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Um, we had a little rain last night, which surprised us. Didn't expect to see that happen. Uh, um, so while we're waiting, I will let you guys know what's going on in the calendar. As you guys all know, I got to read off the calendar. All right, here we go. So tomorrow we're doing a double header. At 2 o'clock, we'll be interviewing Tom Jaleffi. He is a screenwriter, and he also is a film journalist. He writes for Flickering Myth. So we had to reschedule Tom. We had him on a while ago scheduled, but he was ill. So and then he got to be shooting, so we weren't able to reschedule anything till tomorrow. But we'll be talking to him about his screenwriting and how he balances between being a film writer and a film writer and a film writer. Get it? So so being a film writer and a screenwriter are two different animals. So we'll ask him how he balances that. And then 8 o'clock, at 8 o'clock, we'll be talking to our everybody's favorite ginger, Danny Inks. I probably say that every time, right? But it's true. Danny Inks is one of the most upbeat and one of the most fun personalities I've ever seen. I'm glad that she agreed to come out here and hang out with us tomorrow night at 8 p.m. And then Thursday at 9 p.m., special start, 9 p.m. Thursday, we have Gory B Movie will be here with us, who runs the Gory B Movie YouTube channel. So she'll be coming out, hanging out with me and the Cheetah on 9 p.m. on the 14th. And then next week we have a YouTube Creators Week, and we'll be interviewing Darian Glover from magnificent Germany with Darian, and he'll be here on the 19th at 8 p.m. And then Greg Harris from Fit for Expedition, he's a van lifer, and he'll be here with us at 8 p.m. on the 20th. And him and his wife Kelly are building a box van. They're rebuilding a box van, and they will be going and living on the road. Hi, Andre. How are you, sir? Glad you're here. Always good to see folks from. I love the international flavor. If you guys don't know, Andre is from New Zealand. So we got New Zealand in the house. Super happy about that. And then on the 21st, we're going to be interviewing our friend Betty J. Gathers will be here. And that's going to be a fun interview, too. It's going to be very insightful. Looking to chop it up with Betty. And that will be at 8 o'clock. And then on the last week of July, we are packed. We got a lot of shows in a short amount of space. We are interviewing Michaela Langdon on the 26th at 2 p.m. Then we'll come back to interview Ruby Lott at 8 p.m. on the 26th. She's an actress and model. She is actually the only minor I've ever interviewed. I've interviewed Ruby because I like her mom. Her mom is she's awesome. Her mom is super cool. Danielle Lott, she rocks. And we'll be talking with Ruby on the 26th. On the 27th at 2 p.m., we'll be talking to Ellie O'Hara. Ellie O'Hara will be here with us. And then on the 28th of the month, July, we're interviewing Crystal Lowe from the Final Destination movies. Final Destination 3, she did Wrong Turn 2. She's done Hollywood Hot Tub Time Machine, and she's also done. She's also now a Hallmark actress. So she's did a series called Signed, Sealed, Delivered, which you will find on my channel that I actually reviewed it. And she'll be here talking about her career on the 8th. And she's also one of my two favorite Screen Queens. So that'll be good, even though she's retired from the Screen Queen game. And then on the 29th, the last show before we take a month off, we'll be talking with artist Grant Linkard on the 29th. All right, so a lot of activity coming up, All right. All right, so I'll take this opportunity to, there's our good friend Al Lucard in the house. Al Lucard, one half of the Midnight Society. I will be here in August for the Midnight Society. Yes, I can't miss that. Super happy to see you guys are here. Still buzzing over the fact that we had an awesome show Sunday, an awesome show yesterday too. We interviewed John Armale, and really nice guy, super nice, he's a Louisiana-based actor, and a really fun-loving guy. And he had actually mentioned to me about a series he did called Pop Tart Adventures. And so I went and I looked it up today, and all I gotta say is that is some funny stuff. We need to make it super popular. So I will be talking about it. Um, I'll actually be putting that link down in the interview. Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to him as well, Andre. He was just a really nice guy, very generous. And hey, Neon Black, greetings, greetings. Glad you're here. Our guest will be here momentarily. We're talking to Devanny Pinn. She is has a very well known screen queen. She's done a ton of horror movies, a lot of horror movies. She's actually played two very infamous real life people. She portrayed Susan Atkins in House of Manson, and then she also played Casey Anthony in a docudrama on I think it's the ID network. I think that's what it was. So yeah, so God, imagine actually play those two roles. You have to have so much confidence. All right, so here's our girl. Let's go get her. There she is.
Hi.
Hi, Devanny. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Wow, look at that beautiful LA mountain.
I
Wow,
am
that's
actually in Santa Monica Beach right now. Was doing some work and errands earlier in the day, and so I stopped at Taco Tuesday so I could have this service to make sure I got your show okay.
oh, you're at the beach. Okay, I was
I'm at the
wondering.
beach.
Yeah, I was wondering. Okay, hell yeah. Please catch a wave for us. That's for sure. Very nice to meet you after all this time.
Yes.
You and I have been talking for a long time,
Yep.
and I got to know you through Brandon.
Yes.
Is he there with you today?
He is, yes, in the restaurant with our
Oh,
family.
okay. Uh, Super nice guy. Hell of a
Yes.
director. Hell of a director. Hell of a musician. You are a terrific actress.
Thank you
You
so
are
much.
very prolific. Um, I mean, it's crazy how busy your schedule is.
Yeah, I'm trying to manage it all, but so far so good.
Yeah, we were supposed to do this for Women in Horror Month, and then all of a sudden, you got called away to Thailand.
Thailand.
So what movie did you work with down there in Thailand?
We shot two, actually. One was a World War II movie called Battle of Saipan, inspired by a true story of what was happening down there during the war. And I play a nurse in a makeshift hospital during one of the attacks. And it's basically about some really heroic people having to endure attacks while trying to maintain a hospital for the locals on the ground there in the islands. It's really a powerful story, really, really beautiful. Maybe Brandon's best work, and that comes out later this year.
Now,
The second one was the second one was a little less intense. It's called The Flood. Uh, it's a hurricane that happens to a precinct, a small town, and it floods, and the inmates escape, and they're trying to maintain it, and alligators make their way inside the precinct during the flooding. So that was fun too.
yeah, I mean, alligators always make a movie more exciting, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, are you the Saipan? Now, I just mentioned right before you came on that you've also played. I mean, because you're right, the Battle of Saipan was a real event during World War II when we attacked in the Pacific, overtaking the island from the Japanese. Um,
Yes.
but you also played two other real life people. I want to say characters or people. You portrayed Susan Atkins in House Manson, and then you portrayed Casey Anthony, who infamously she got off, right?
Yeah.
She was not convicted.
Yeah.
But
She has gone free. Yep.
Now before we get back to your roots, I was just curious. How do you prepare yourself to play a role like that? Because it isn't just a name on a script or a character you have to develop. It's a known person, a well-known person. And how do you climb into their shoes?
That's a fantastic question, and it is a different process than playing, a fictionalized character. If you're familiar with my work at all, or if you're not, I like to tackle really dark material. Like, the darker, the better. I think it's challenging and fascinating, and there's a lot of layers that you can do to that. But when you do that full time, it can come home with you. It really becomes a part of your world, and so you have to draw those boundaries in order to maintain separation between reality and your work when you're taking on a person or a thing or an entity, whatever. So when you're doing fictionalized stories, it's really easy to establish that line and draw it and say, this is fantasy, this is work, and this is reality. When you're playing a real person, where you draw that line is harder. It's especially if you want to tell it truthfully and honestly. The people are exactly that. They're complicated. There's lots to them, and even those who do horrendous things, like allegedly Casey Anthony did, and that Susan Atkins did with the Manson family. They aren't 100% bad people. They're people who made some bad choices or had some bad circumstances, and they didn't do the right thing. And so you have to play them. You have to justify that. You have to find the good person in that to tell it honestly. And it's not really easy when it's people who, hurt children, hurt pregnant women, who committed horrible atrocities, to step into those shoes and that mindset and present them, defend them. It's really, really hard, really challenging work. But I like a challenge, and I like material that makes you have to really think and discover.
One of the things I really admire too, and I always look for this because you always heard the term "screen queen," and to me, that's just sort of like it's a glamorous term, right? You think of a screen queen as someone who's running around, their head cut off, and they're known for that. But but to me, they're like, or they're just, I don't know, they're just sort of like upright all the time. What I really liked about you, that you're not afraid to get your hands dirty.
No.
I was very impressed with the Dawn. There's just something about asking a beautiful actress such as yourself, to go ahead and get dirty, to roll around, literally to roll around in the dirt and the mud, to put that cake on, or as you said, drench yourself in blood. There's something to be said about that, like that. It's a lot harder to do than it is to say. You sit there and say, "Oh, that must be easy," but it's not, is it?
No, it's not. And thank you for saying that. It's not something that a lot of people understand or acknowledge. Actually, to be dubbed a scream queen, it does sound very glamorous, and it sounds very cushy. And the reality is, for us horror girls and everybody who works within the genre, I don't think they get the respect that is really earned, because it is hard work. It's really long hours. It's most of the time, very, very physical roles that require a lot of endurance and a lot of strength and stamina. And on top of, really emotional material. If you think about it, majority of horror movies have to do with death in some capacity. And if you think about having to portray everything that goes in with processing the last moments of your life, or what you think might be the end of your life, That's a lot. That's stressful. That's exhausting. And to do that over and over and over again, take after take, hour after hour, day after day, it's a lot of work to do horror movies. And Scream Queens, you know, the ones that have really earned the title, they've earned the title because it is a really, really intense, emotional, physical job that that isn't acknowledged as such. And we do it because we love it, and we love the people that we're doing it for.
So I agree. I agree. It's a very tough. It's not, you know, it's easy just to take it for granted. You know, it's like you see a you know, a young lady out there on the screen. She's running around. She runs into the corner. The killer gets her and kills her. And you think, wow, okay, next. And it's like, I don't watch movies like that. You know, I like to be vested in the characters, no matter how small a character they're in. Because, you know, to me, it's like, unless I'm emotionally invested in a character in a movie, I don't really feel like connected to it, you know? So, you know, I feel that every single time I watch a movie, like, you know, you feel the character, you feel what they're going through. A good movie will do that to you. They'll put you into that place. And
I'm going to challenge you on that, honestly, because some people, some characters in there are just supposed to be that. They're supposed to be cannon fodder. You're supposed to be like, oh, that was crazy, and then go on to the next, so you can be invested in the right characters for the story to go through it. And those characters, those actors get even less cred because they have to go through a really emotional, physical, intense performance just so you could be like, next, to not be emotionally connected to them. So they get even, like, they're completely thankless. So I want to give a shout out to everybody who, you know, dies first, dies through the middle, where you're not supposed to follow them through the story, because y'all do it without any kind of recognition whatsoever. And if you aren't invested, if you did just have fun for a few minutes and then want to go on to the next, then they did their job, which is exactly what you're supposed to do.
Now, how did you get your start? I know you were born in Texas.
Yes.
And you had quite an introduction to before you got into acting. That was during the heyday of reality shows. Now, was that your first experience at all in acting, or did you act when you were in high school or junior high or church or?
Yeah, my church doesn't know a lot of what I do. That's a whole nother conversation. Oh my goodness. I was acting technically at age 3. I started in ballet theater in the Nutcracker, and I did musical theater my whole life. So there was that, but I always stayed more on the dance and musical side of it. I didn't pursue acting as the main thing until I was, I guess, college. And I was in college on an opera scholarship. And during one of my performances, I was looking to make more friends in the area because I had moved to Arizona. And so what I did was I ended up finding an independent film audition when I was looking for theater auditions. And I didn't even know what an independent film was at the time. So I went with a friend who really wanted to audition for it. They had been pursuing it a little bit more. And it turns out it was a horror movie. And at that time, I was very Disney, very musical theater. And I didn't really know much about horror. I grew up kind of in a sheltered home. I went in there and I did a monologue. I didn't have anything. I didn't have a headshot. I didn't have a resume or a reel, anything. But I just went in kind of blind and did this monologue for the filmmaking team. And I booked the lead in it. And so kind of like from day one, I just really understood the genre and the material, and I thrived in it. And so I did that movie for fun the summer before college, and I ended up it did really well overseas. So I kind of got a little bit of a following. Lloyd Kaufman from Trauma saw it, and he kind of took me under his wing, taught me a little bit about the business. So I toured with him and Trauma for a while, doing conventions, just meeting a lot of people. And they would see the film and they would say, I liked it, come do my movie. And that kind of just went from one to another. Before I knew it, I was leaving class in school to go film every second. And it just kind of turned into a career on its own. And I've been doing it ever since, full time.
Yeah, Trauma's legendary. What a it's a great place to cut your teeth for independent film.
Yeah.
I mean, that's for sure. A lot of great actors got their start in Trauma films, Trauma, Full Moon, what have you. So what was it like doing the reality shows? I mean, you did a few reality shows before you got, was that before you got into acting, or was that between roles?
That was kind of simultaneous with it. Like, I didn't know how to go about booking work because I was just kind of coming to me. So I was seeking out auditioning opportunities. And I grew up in Jersey, so I have a big personality, and I'm kind of a weird anomaly and such. I also am very religious, and practice a lot of reserved and resolve in my personal life, as well as living this very crazy independent horror movie life. And so I was just reality casting directors' dreams. They loved me. And so I was getting called in like every month for a new show for a while. And I was a finalist on several of them, but I didn't actually go all the way with that, which is great because I ended up finding out that they restricted the other kinds of work that you did if you became a principal on some of their shows. Like I have other girlfriends from Rock of Love and from Scream Queens and a few others that I was involved with that had to put their careers on hold for a while their contracts expired with their reality shows. So I was only ever in the background on a lot of those. I wasn't the principal players on them. So I got to keep on filming. They didn't know or care what I was doing with that, which is great. And again, I met a lot of people, got some great exposure on VH1 and MTV and a few others. So reality is a lot of fun. Definitely can be a great place to get a start, to get some momentum, and definitely to have a lot of fun. I did.
So what was your the very first project that you booked yourself? I mean, did you always hit the horror trail, or were you thinking about doing more family stuff? And you mentioned you were doing opera. What was your range? Were you a soprano, contralto?
I was a mezzo soprano, yeah, and I was not trained professionally in it. I always just kind of did musical theater and worked with whatever teachers were there. But I went to school, or at least I was admitted to school with an opera scholarship where they took me on professionally to train me for it. My mom thought I was going to be this really classy, vocal performer, and instead I ended up using all the skills that I learned from opera training, my diaphragm and projection, to scream in horror movies.
Well, yeah, I mean that's isn't that interesting? You go there, because you mentioned I saw that you mentioned that you've had several times where you've done a scream and brought everybody come running to come save you because your scream is so do you miss singing, or do you still do it?
I do and I don't. Again, simultaneously in the beginning when I was doing movies, and to answer your question before, I'm sorry, I dabbled a little bit with other things. After my initial horror movie, I tried a couple different things. I did a buddy comedy in Vegas, and I did a family film. I did a couple different things. Didn't get much momentum, and I learned right away that I loved and thrived in the genre. I just loved everything about it. I get it. I enjoy doing it. I was working with actors that, like, halfway through filming, they were pretentious, and I just couldn't wait to the scene where I get to hack the crap out of them. And on a comedy, you can't do that. You have to just live with them. So there's a lot of things that were cathartic about working in the genre that I just really loved. And so I sought it out and stuck really there. And to top it off, the fans were so incredible. They're like the best people on the planet are horror movie fans, and they're loyal. And I just wanted to be part of them and work with them and for them. So I kind of stuck there. I'm sorry, what was the other question?
I mentioned if you were still singing as well, or
Oh, I'm still thinking. Yeah. So when I started, and I was doing a couple different things, I also was part of a pop girl group, and so we were touring in between my shooting dates. So I did some singing then, and we got scouted by Jive, which was like NSYNC's label back in the day. But as you probably know how that went, pop and lighter music kind of went out of style, and it turned into more of like an urban hip hop. Rap really became prominent and I cannot hang. I'm not a rapper by any way, shape, or so it didn't make sense to really pursue music at that time. I do miss it. I sing a little bit in church. I sing a little bit privately, and I actually was attached to a horror musical last year, but unfortunately that project has since dissolved, so I won't be doing that. But I do hope that I get to use the musical theater background in something genre related. Love to do like a rock opera or a horror musical. Still, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Did you see Repo the Genetic Opera?
Yes, it's awesome. I don't get jealous very often. I'm not really a jealous person, but I was a little envious that I didn't get to be part of that one because they looked like they had so much fun.
Such a great movie. Such a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
First of its kind. No one's ever done it. I don't think anybody's ever really. Well, yeah, he followed it up a few, but when he premiered it, I think it was the first time an opera had ever been done. I didn't realize the difference between opera and musical. Yep. Until I watched that movie. So,
and you didn't know how many people within our genre or who worked around it within it have musical theater backgrounds. There's a lot of us. It's kind of cool.
Yeah. A lot of actors I've talked to, they all come from they all have a musical background of some sort.
Yeah.
So let's jump back into the horror. I mean, you embraced it. That's one good thing. I mean, you know, it wasn't one of those. You don't see it as a stepping stone like a lot of people do. A lot of people say,
a lot of people use it as a stepping stone, and it's actually a very successful model for a lot of people. A lot of people will start there and move along, but I never wanted to move along. Like, to what? I'm happy. I love it. I'm right. I'm here.
So let's talk about a little bit about the how about the first time that you both had to kill somebody on screen and your first death scene. Because you've died some pretty horrific deaths, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah. I seek those out, though. I like when people pitch me projects, one of the first questions is, do I die? And a lot of times they'll be like, oh, well, you know, thinking that I want to live to the end or I want the lead role, because that's what a lot of people are looking for. But I look for a project, one that is interesting and I have a cool idea for the character. But most importantly, like, is the death scene awesome? Like, is it something that if I went to go see it, would I cheer for that? Like, and so that's what I kind of seek out. I love doing death scenes. I think it's so much fun.
Now, was the first time you did it, though, the first couple of times you did it, it had to be a little bit unnerving.
I was nervous the first time. Well, my first movie, I was 17. And again, so I didn't have any experience. And then to have to portray, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's an obscure cult movie now, but I played a ghoul, which they took as a very serious thing. I actually got an entire a pamphlet from the director when I got the role on the backstory and history of this race of creatures that we were going to be playing in the film. So it came from a very serious place. I had like an entire legend and realm of reality for these individuals that were called the Lonely Ones. They were ghouls. And so I was very nervous to portray it, but also to kill my character within this creature realm. The job was to be a gatherer for her race of creatures. She would lure humans, which is what they ate, lure humans back into their feeding grounds so that her tribe could eat. And so I had to play a girl who was not human, who was trying to fit in as a human in order to ensure the survival of her race. And so it was a very, very complicated, complex character with lots of layers in it. And I was nervous. On top of that, I had to portray a love interest that gets killed. So it turns into almost like a rape and revenge movie, but for a ghoul. It was very bizarre, bizarre film, but really very complicated for my first film and for a horror movie in general, to have all this lore. So I had to do my first kill and death scenes with tons of extra on it. So I think because I had to spend so much time with that, I really spent a lot of time dissecting those scenes from a filmmaking standpoint, from an acting standpoint, from an audience member. And so when I went to do it in the next one, I was like, psh, a straight murder scene? I got this. Or what? I'm just going to casually die? Sure, no problem. And so I, from the beginning, was really, really invested in how those came out. And then as I got to do them more often, then I could kind of at a snap of a hat just pull them off. So then it became fun. Then it became like, how twisted can we make it? How much effects, blood, gore, makeup, stunts can we incorporate? You know, how can we make this moment even cooler for the fans? So while it was very intimidating at first, my first kill, I had to skin somebody alive. So that was kind of crazy. And then I died from a shotgun to the back of the head where they blew my head off. And so that's how I started, and it's only gotten crazier from there.
I have a feeling your mom. What was it like watching your first time that you died on screen? Did you watch it with your friends and family, or just your friends or your peers? Or
no, my first time we had an industry screening, and I was still an Arizona local. They had a screening because half of the crew was from Arizona on site, and the other half was from Los Angeles. So they had a cast and crew private screening in Los Angeles, and I was, again, just barely turned 18 at that point. I was so starstruck by the whole concept. So I was a little overwhelmed with that whole process, but the cast and crew of that film, we lived on site in a cabin in Arizona, northern Arizona, for a month. So we became very close. So it was almost like watching it with your best friends, your family, and just, but from there, I realized that now knowing a little bit about how things work, I started watching TV and film in a completely different way. Instead of just being lost in whatever the content I am, now I'm like, oh, the lighting's doing that. Oh, the sound kind of dipped there. Or, oh, why did they make that choice? Or look how many angles that took. They must have been shooting that all day. So now after that initial time, then I was like completely ruined for watching anything. Now when I go watch a horror movie, like if I go in the theaters, even to support my friends, I can't like focus on it. I see all the other stuff. So that was interesting too.
Yeah, I mean, going in there and seeing how the technical aspects of a filmmaker, I can see that happening. Now, what would I be doing if I was doing this movie? What would I be doing? How would I be?
Yeah, it's hard to like turn your brain off when you're used to seeing all that stuff. So that was the first time I experienced that. So it was kind of interesting.
Now, do you like watching yourself at work?
No. I think most actors will tell you they hate watching themselves on camera. It's weird because, again, like if you watch a movie, if you watch a show, you want to watch it, you want to enjoy it, and instead it's like if you go to The Office and they ask, oh, did you really enjoy that crew meeting or that that team building exercise or that memo?
Right.
Not really. It's work. You know what I mean? It's the job. It's so I like when other people watch it and enjoy it. I like talking about it, like talking to you about stuff. That's fun to me because I still get to be a fan. But when I watch myself on screen, I'm like, oh, I should have made that choice, or oh, that really worked, or maybe I should try this next time. I can't focus or enjoy it, so I don't like to watch it. When it's on screen, it's done. I've done my job. That's it.
Please tell me you did enjoy watching yourself in the dawn.
I can't because I also produced that one, so I'm extra like, oh, I wish we had more time for that shot, or maybe we should have tried this, or I think that worked. I feel very proud of the work that we did on Dawn, for sure. Like, That's the story that I had wanted to tell for a while, and my team was so incredible on it. But again, it's weird to watch yourself. You know what I mean? I guess I don't know if you know what I mean. Do you watch your podcasts back?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're absolutely right. It's very difficult. It's very difficult because like
Yeah.
I play back and I see all the things I did wrong and all the questions I didn't ask or the volume of my voice and all that. I on my
Learning
own.
session, yeah. But you don't think about it. It's such a good question because you would think, oh yeah, you did this work. You want to, I'm sure you watch it, enjoy it, but most people will tell you it's not the case, and it's kind of surprising. But that's just where we're at, I guess.
Now, when you prepare, when you go and prepare for your characters, right? So, do you ever just? I mean, does every role you play? Do you create? I mean, other than real life people, but any character you play, even in your first few roles, did you slowly learn how to form a character? And do you build a character for every role you play, even though it's just another horror movie? You mean, because there's some people that, let's face it, they dial it in, they call it in, okay, I'm here, I'm going to go in there and pop out my day and I'm out of here. But I don't get that impression with you at all. Every time
That's a
I
very good
seen you
question.
work, every time I seen you work, it's been a lot of dedication, a lot of focus. Even in roles you don't even really think about too much. You don't. Okay, there she is. She's running across the screen screaming. But do you build a character for those small roles, or those or the bigger roles? How do you do that, Devanny? How does a horror? Because it's not. Everybody says it's just a horror movie, but it's not. It's still acting. You're still putting
Yes,
yourself out there.
very much so, and you nailed it. That's the thing. I started with, and not everybody has the luxury to pick and choose. I'm very, very fortunate that I really get enough opportunities where I can choose the material that I'm passionate about. I don't do just anything that's offered to me. I have to like something about the project or the filmmakers that I think the vision is interesting. Something that, like, as a horror fan, I think there's something interesting there that I would want to see. And so that's when I choose a project. And if it's a character, I choose characters not necessarily if they're big, but if I have an idea for them. So that's when I take a job. So if you watch one of my films, there was something interesting enough about it that I hope is worth your time to sit through and enjoy. So for the smaller characters, and I often will choose the smaller characters because I think they are more interesting. I think a lot of times the leading roles are safe. They're kind of just there to take the audience through the story. And so there's not necessarily a lot there to do. Not always, but just, as a generality, the final girl tends to be the same. There's not a lot of risk there. But the secondary characters, even the bit parts, there's something unique about them, or they made an interesting demise, or there's something fun there that I can play with as a horror fan. And so I do create a full character, regardless of the amount of screen time that it has, whether it's the lead of the film or just a cameo. And I try to bring a lot more to it than just whatever's written on the page. So I come up with a backstory. I come up with circumstances. I come up with quirks that they have, little habits that they have, little tiny things that I hope bring that extra something to the character, make them more real, to make them memorable, to make them have an impact, leave an impact. And I take it very, very seriously because for me, especially when you're playing a person, they're not just, girl A or girl B or doctor or teenager or, whoever. There's an entire person there, and you're just seeing a few minutes in their life. So you have to portray a full person who the camera just caught for those particular moments. But that doesn't mean that there's not more to them. That means that there is a whole bunch to them, and you only have a few minutes to let the audience know who that is. And so because I approach it from that way, I think I think people have resonated with my characters a lot, even if they do have less screen time than some others. It's because I care. I care. Some people phone it in. Some people make a lot of money and they just rack up and they don't care. But I love it. And I love the people that I'm entertaining. And so I think the characters and the audience deserves that respect.
Have you ever been approached on set and by a peer and during a movie, and you ever been approached by a peer and say, you're always so in the moment, can you tone it back at all? You ever been asked to dial it back because otherwise you're making them work harder?
It's so funny. I will not say who it was, but one of the leads of the World War II movie came over to me because I just did a cameo on that. The producers were kind enough to write a part in for me when they found out that I was interested. And I don't normally do it because it's not technically horror, but I think that war is horrific enough that it really. Yeah, I thought it was still true to my brand and yet a different approach to it. So they were kind enough when they saw I was willing to do it to write me in a spot, and it could have been a throwaway role. It could have just been a quick little, hey, there's Dev and not. But my scenes, I really did a lot of work towards them, and I kind of went above and beyond as I tend to do. But because a lot of this team was not genre people, and half of them were Thai, and the rest were people who were more in the action genre and drama genres. They were all kind of blown away by me. I don't think they were expecting what I did. And one of them in particular came and said, "Thanks a lot. You just put the bar up here, and now we all have to do the work to match it."
Wow.
So I would say that
were you pretty stunned by that? As a performer,
work I really admire. So it was very, very like shocking and flattering. But I get that a lot. I get a lot of like, oh, I didn't really expect anything from you, and oh shit, you just kind of blew it out of the water. So I get a lot of people who kind of don't know what to do with that, and then get really giddy about it. Like I have crew who will sometimes phone it in because it's very easy to do that when you're crew. You get kind of into a habit on it. And I come in there and really give it my all, and I'll shake things up. And then everyone kind of gets what I hope to do, which inspired. They're like, oh, well, she's bringing this. Well, so maybe I can bring this kind of creativity or this kind of idea to the scene or the movie. And so that's my goal with it, is not ever to like upstage anyone or go too much when it's not appropriate, steal anyone's thunder. Like, that's absolutely not it. What I do like to do, though, is encourage everyone to bring their A game every single time. And most of the time, that's what happens. That's why I think even when the budgets on some of my stuff is smaller, you see the heart there. You see the effort. You see the creativity, because people got inspired. And let's be real, like, a lot of times if you're working in a horror movie, it's because you love it. It's generally not money. It's generally not because the conditions are the absolute best. It's because you love what you do. You love the genre. You're there to have a good time, and the passion is contagious.
Yeah, I've noticed that too about your performances. I mean, you throw yourself into every role. It's one of the things I first noticed. And you can't help but. Now, when do you feel in your career it changed? Because I'm sure a lot of directors saw you or producers saw you when you first started out and sat there and say, let's just get the hot chick in here because, she's hot. And when did it go from you being approached as the hot chick to being as an artist, as a working actress, like someone who's got the chops? When do you feel that sort of, that persona changed for casting directors and directors for you?
It's a really good question. In some ways it hasn't changed. I have to be careful how I answer this.
That really surprises me.
Yeah, when I started, it was 100%. They were like, "Hey, Dad looks pretty good. Let's get out here." I ended up doing a lot of films where I would show up, and all of a sudden, like, the director or the producer is suddenly playing opposite me. out of nowhere. Oh, funny how that happened. Like that happens a lot. I had a lot of sets and projects where I was there to do professional work, and it would, you know, very much encouraged to become social. And that wasn't my jam either. And there is nothing wrong with that. There's, you know, plenty of people who double dip, shall I say, but that wasn't me. I always just was really passionate about my work and very focused there. So it was a very slow process. I tried to take roles where I wasn't hot. I tried to take roles where I was downright not appealing whatsoever. And that got me some cred as an actor. But ultimately, I had to kind of turn it up when I was doing marketing and be a little bit more sexy and attractive and appealing, because people responded better and accepted me as not necessarily the hot girl of the film. That was a process of a lot of roles, but it did happen for me eventually. But I learned quickly that behind the scenes, they still wanted to see the glamorous actress. So it was about, and I'm still working on it, it's about finding that balance. And I'm doing a little bit more of the horror action now. I'm working with a lot more action people since my partner, Brandon, is transitions mostly there. So they're kind of, some of the projects are interacting there. And the action business does not, they're not as progressive when it comes to women's roles as the horror genre is. So it's a lot more of having to be attractive to earn that respect. So I'm kind of going back to square one and all that and finding out how to balance that with the horror genre, which has become very accepting of actresses getting down and dirty and ugly even to play the characters. But again, when you come back to it, they still want you to be hot when you're, you know, when you're doing the carpets or doing the interviews. Like, I don't know if you noticed, but I'm pretty natural today. I didn't totally glam up for you, and that was partially a choice. I'm kind of testing the waters. And seeing, if I'm not a glamazon, you know, will fans still be receptive to me and my real life? So we'll see.
I think I think I'm probably the wrong person to test that out, because I've known you and Brandon as, you know, as partners for many years, and, you know, your little one and whatnot. You know, you know, you and I would be talking like this probably for the first time we would have met. You know, I don't know if you know about mine or Brandon's first time we talked, we got to know each other. It was through House of Manson, and
really?
we had such a great discussion, and I had nothing but respect for him. He was so kind, and he was willing to talk about the movie and break it down, and it was just fantastic. And, you know, and then we found out we both love music, both love industrial music, and then, you know, the ball went rolling. But, you know, I was thinking about this because, you know, another thing I was going to ask you too is, like, do people see you only as a victim, or do you ever get seen as a final girl type? Because I can see you as a final girl.
I've done all the above. I targeted roles specifically to be able to play the villain, the victim, the final girl. Ultimately, I think my best work is the villain. I have the most fun there. I really love psychology and criminal psychology at that. I love psychologically breaking down evil personas and developing all the layers of what makes people do what they do. And so I think my best work is complex characters or characters who could be portrayed or seen as the bad guy. I have done the final girl. It is fun to do. But the hero, I mean, who doesn't want to be the hero? You know, that's always fun. But I think there are people in our business who do it better. I've worked with a lot of really amazing scream queens and actresses who have that amazing girl next door, resilient final girl thing down. And I like to usually play the secondary character to complement that. I think that's when the movie turns out the best, is when you have someone who does their type the very best, their work the very, very best, and you place everybody accurately. I think you get these really incredible character-driven stories. So I encourage everybody who's working within it to do everything, so that way you know how the story progresses and the process for everybody else. But if I have a choice, the bad guy who dies, for sure.
You've had some really remarkable death scenes. One death scene, because you do your own stunts. I got to tell people right here, right now, Devanny does all her stunts. She does. She does all your stunts. And one of the most harrowing stunts I've ever saw you did. I'm sure you probably get asked about it a lot, because it was absolutely like, how the hell did they do that? Bus Party to Hell, the Saran Wrap death. That was, I know what people were supposed to be looking at, but me, I was terrified, because that's a horrific. Because I saw a scene like that in a movie called Lucky Number 11, and they had the same sort of death scene in there. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That looks like horrible. Now, how do you prepare yourself for stunts on that level? I mean, how do you prepare for that? I mean, have you ever looked at have they ever looked at what they've asked you to do and sit there and go like, do I have a stunt double on here?
Yeah, it's so sometimes like every little detail of what you're getting into, and sometimes you find out in the moment. And this was somewhere in between those. My scene in Bus Party to Hell, as it ended up being called, it was written in after the film was finished, and the filmmakers wrote in a scene for Tara and I. And when I saw it, I thought it was fucking hilarious, and so I said yes right away, because the death scene was really unusual and really cool, and I hadn't done anything like that yet. So I said yes right away. Plus, I wanted the chance to work with Tara. We've been trying to work together for a while, and it was like 110 degrees in the Nevada desert.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the team. We only had one day of shooting, so there wasn't a lot of like prep time or anything for that. So I didn't get to rehearse or meet with the stunt team until the day. And so it almost was like moments before it was shown how it was going to be done. And I've been doing this in a long time, so I'm pretty good at gauging whether I can trust people or not. And that's something that, anytime you do any kind of intimate scene, whether it's a death scene, whether it's sex scene, whether it's, anything where you're in close quarters with people of that sort, and you have to be vulnerable, you need to trust your team, because they have to take care of you. And I'm one of those actors that, like, if I die because the camera's still rolling. You better fucking film it. I will never interrupt the shot. So I talked to my team before we went, and the few actors that I was interacting with for that sequence, and we went through it and all the beats, and I just made sure that I had like some safe word style taps or movements or gestures that I could do where they would know that I'm not going to live through this.
Yeah, no, I was howling, because I knew you filmed it in Death Valley.
Yes.
And yeah, I knew that. When I saw that scene, I actually listened to the commentary about that. They were saying how they were setting up the shot mostly with Tara, and Tara was having a rough day.
Yeah, it was just, the conditions were really, really intense. It's again, props to her. She was such a trooper. She had to shoot that whole sequence within just the hours of sunlight. And again, in 110, 115, I think was the high that day. to do a physical, action-packed scene. And there wasn't a lot of time for breaks or downtime or cooling off of the trailer or anything like that because you had to make the day. And she was very committed to that. And so she, you know, worked herself up, revved herself up, did all these physical stunts with everybody, the effect shots, the kills, and did it without really any rest. It was, you know, I mean, I know everyone has their opinions of Tara Reid, but mine are very high because I watched her kick ass that day.
I was just talking about your scene because to me, I thought your scene was much more harrowing. I mean, because you know she didn't have Saran wrap wrapped around her head. I mean, I don't even think you could have 20 people in front of me, and I still don't think I'm going to want anybody to wrap Saran wrap around my head.
I just thought the scene, if they pulled it off, was so funny that I was down to do it. And unfortunately, again, my team ended up being incredible and very, very dedicated. They looked after me, and so I felt confident to like try to go for it. And I think everybody had fun. And it's one of the best fan reviewed sequences that's out there because it's just a fun scene.
Yes, agreed. I totally agree. I have to tell you that I actually before I met you and got to know you, I actually met Jillian, and there's a part of me that fell in love with that girl. Her and I are the same tribe. So now you know, do you ever go when you get a script? Now, do you read the script by yourself, or do you ever share it with Brandon and get his input? Because you're a working actor and he's a director. Now, on paper, that's the perfect union, right? Because it's like, well, what do you think, or how do you what do you think? What's your opinion? Do you guys collaborate like that, or do you keep your acting and directing business separate from your home life?
Well, he's my best friend as well as my partner, so I share a lot of things with him. I do, and we ended up collaborating so much because we share material with each other. Like a lot of times, I would get offered a role or a project, and then I would go through it, and I would tell them, "Okay, I'll do it, but Brandon needs to direct," or vice versa. So there's that, but there's also, again, he's my best friend, so and I trust his opinion as a filmmaker, someone who understands the content that I do and why I do it. So I will get his opinion on a lot of things. I usually read scripts myself, and I usually make the decisions whether I want to do them or not myself. But sometimes I will, if I'm on the fence about whether it's the right timing in my career or if I think that it's going to do what I think it's going to do, then I'll consult him on it. But usually there's been a few times where I've taken a project, and when it came down to it, like after rehearsing or meeting with the director, I'm like, I had an idea for this character, but it's going in a different direction. Or I think I'm going to play it like this. What do you think? And so sometimes he'll weigh in and give opinions that way as well. But it's usually a collaborative effort because he's also somebody, and that's the reason we did, seek each other out, is because we share a lot of the same passion and enjoy a lot of the same materials. And so I trust him. Yeah,
you do have a lot in common. I would, especially when you share about the opera and the singing, I'm going like, yeah, I can see that. I could actually see you guys. I was actually mentally seeing you singing while he was playing guitar. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's awesome. What decides a script for you? I mean, where do you look for in a script that's going to make you, because a lot of the horror films that you get, oh my gosh, some of them must look all alike. So what do you look for to make it, stand up for you? What are you looking for? Are you looking for a way a character is built, the dialogue, the story, the action?
It's usually I read a lot of scripts, and so does it pop to me? is there something about the overall story where I'm like, I absolutely need to be part of this? Am I excited about it as a fan? Is there a character that I'm like, oh, I really have some cool ideas for this character? There just has to be something about it to me that says I need to do this. And that doesn't happen all the time, believe it or not. I read a lot of scripts and it feels safe. I've seen it before. I've done it before. It's just doesn't, I don't feel like there's anything super special. Like if I was going to watch a movie tonight, I don't know why I would pick this one. So there's certain things like that where I just, and then there's also certain things that just timing that I need. Like I have a bucket list of film subgenres that I like to do. And so it could be that like right now I'm looking for a shark movie. I've been looking for a little while. I'm trying to find something because there's a ton of shark movies out there. I'm trying to find something that's like, this story is unique or special, or like if I was going to watch a shark movie tonight, I would put on this one. Why? So it's things like that. There just has to be something as an artist I feel fulfilled doing, and as a fan I want to see.
Would you consider doing a movie with a cheetah? Like you and a cheetah team up, take out some bank robbers or something like that?
It would depend who was directing it and the tone. If it was absolutely off the wall, bonkers, ridiculous, crazy fun, then probably. If they're picking a serious movie doing that, probably not.
I mean, because he's always hopeful. Yeah. So I mean, it must be hard. I mean, that's one of the challenges of being in the genre is to do something that hasn't been seen to death. Like, okay, so like, how are you going to elevate that up? I mean, to like everybody says, oh, it's just another bad shark movie, or another bad creature feature, or whatever, or another splasher. I mean, what are some of the ways that you approach these scripts and whatnot? And do you ever input any of your ideas? Do they listen to you when you sit there and say, I have an idea?
I do. It gets harder and harder because there's so much content out there now to find original ideas, find creative ways to do things. Like for instance, that's how The Dawn came about, for instance, was distributors we work with wanted a paranormal movie, and they wanted the same kind of formula. They wanted a possession film. They wanted an exorcism film, and they want the same formulaic things. And that's what's hard about creating new content right now, is because the people who will purchase the film from you or distribute the film from you, they want a short checklist and that's it. You have to fit within that mold. And so a lot of people find themselves falling into the same thing over and over again. And something that I've always done is I like to take a popular concept or idea or something that you think you expect or what you're going to see and turn it on its head. And that's always been kind of my thing, whether it's portraying a character or telling a story. I like to lead the audience down what they think they already know and then flip them on it. So
yeah, I loved about The Dawn. The Dawn was like, I was following that movie all the way to the last twist. I can't tell you. I've seen hundreds of horror movies. That genuinely had me surprised at the end. That does not happen at all. Really, it does not happen at all. I was not expecting that at all, and I was so happy. I was so happy. I was so happy to get that. You did really well with that movie. That movie did very well, didn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's got like a love-hate relationship online. Every once in a while I check in on it to see what people are saying, because the coolest thing about it is people are talking about it. They're still talking about it. There's entire forums about the film where people are like arguing amongst themselves about it. And what's cool about The Dawn is you can watch it as a complete film from beginning to end as several different subgenres. You can watch it completely as a psychological thriller. You can watch it completely as an exorcism film. You can watch it completely as a paranormal film, and you can watch it as a true crime movie and a franchise prequel. And so I tend to know whether, based on like people's initial reaction, which way they watched it as. because some of the subgenres within it are better movies than others, even though you can technically watch it a bunch of different ways. So there's people fighting amongst themselves online. This is the worst movie I've ever seen, and this is the best movie I've ever seen. And so
people have said that about the worst.
That's exactly what we want, which is getting people talking and invested, and everyone can kind of acknowledge that they didn't see that ending coming.
Nobody did.
And that's, I mean, what more in this day and age? Like, what more can you ask for as a storyteller?
Yeah. Now, have you? Now, I know you have your own production company, so that's you're also a producer now, so that's a whole different animal than from acting.
Yeah.
Now, I guess you read scripts I guess you read them twice, right? Because you're reading them both first as an actress, and then you're reading them first as, okay, if I'm drawn to this as an actress, is that the same as if you're drawn to it as an actress? Does that ensure that you're drawn to it as a producer, or can you split the two apart?
It's it depends on the project. A lot of times, the distributors or the financiers will come to us and say, "Hey, we need this kind of film." So then it's up to me to see and to Brennan, whoever I'm working with. Do we have an idea for this? Because we don't ever try to take a story and just sell out to fill a slot. It's just not the kind of people or storytellers that we are. We won't fill a slot on the queue. So we have to have an interesting idea or a way to spin it that makes it creatively interesting. And so that's always the first discussion is, what can we do with this? I had pitched Brandon on a Manson movie, for instance, for years before he finally said he would do it. Because he said, there's so much material on there, it's been done. What could we possibly bring to this story that isn't already out there? And I really took that to heart. I thought about it, and I'm like, he's right. What is different? And so then we compromised when I came up with a concept for it, and he liked it. He said, all right, if you find me the right Manson, then we'll do it. And that's what happened.
Is that what he said? Devanny, is that what he said?
Yes.
That's exactly what I said to him. That's what I said to him. When we were talking about a House of Manson, I was going like, man, this has been done to dinosaur dust. I mean, what can you bring to the party? It's been done so much.
Yep.
That's what I said to him when we first met. That is so interesting. That fascinates me.
And you were right, and he was right. It's over and over again, the first question that we got asked, like, really, you're beating, the horse is dead and buried. What are you doing? And I said, the answer for me was, all of these movies have portrayed him as a boogeyman. None of them have shown you a person, a little ex-convict, strange hippie dude who got all these people from different walks of life to follow him into the desert and do horrific acts. I said, that was not, a legend, a mythological character. It's not a hypothetical. This was some random dude who really got these educated, intelligent, free-thinking people to do his every whim. I said, and no one has captured that essence. No one has shown his childhood. No one has shown the little boy that was Manson. And more importantly than any of that, my generation did not know the true horror of what that did to not only his victims, but to society. I remember being at horror conventions and people of my age were wearing T-shirts glorifying Manson. They were going as Halloween as dead Sharon Tate. They had patches of him like he was, like he was Michael Myers, and he's not. No, he was a real person. And I thought, we need a story that shows real people for this generation, if nothing else. And I think that we did that.
See, that's different from Tarantino, because Tarantino did his for sensationalism. That's why he did it. He didn't do anything other than for him. He wanted to do it for himself. He didn't really care about anybody else. He actually wanted to open up his movie on the date of the killings.
It's interesting. After we made Manson, Sharon Tate's sister was aware of our project during filming, and she gave us her blessings, more or less, which she later retracted. That's a whole different story. But after it came out and started really getting the buzz that it did, we noticed she wanted to be more involved with the project than she was, and it just didn't work out that way. And we actually saw her and Tarantino coming out of a casual business meeting at a restaurant nearby our house in Los Angeles. And it turns out that was the meeting they had to go ahead and do his Manson movie. He had been inspired by all the goings on. So I don't know if he had ever seen House of Manson, but he definitely was aware of the project coming off of the meeting with his sister.
Sure.
So it was kind of interesting, but it just goes to show you that, you know, just because there's a popular topic doesn't mean that that's the story you're telling. You know, different filmmakers bring completely different experience to the material, for better or worse.
Right. Have you ventured into screenwriting?
I am not a screenwriter. I am terrible at screenwriting. I like to write one sheets or plots. I like to write plots of stories and characters, but I literally stop it at one sheet and then I pass it to Brandon. I said, here, make sense of it. Turn that into a screenplay, because he is a phenomenal writer. That's where his educational background is. And he can generally take what I'm trying to do and organize it into a coherent script and sometimes even something really, really great. But my writing is it's really just a plot.
Screenwriting's that's a bear. That's a bear.
It's a very, very specific skill set, and props to all you guys who do it. I do not have that ability. I'm not good at it. So my ultimate respect to you guys. It's definitely it's a hard job to get it right.
How has motherhood changed your life for you?
How has what?
How has motherhood changed your life for you?
Oh, it's crazy. I don't talk about my personal life as much, if that's okay, just because I don't
want no names.
Yeah, I'm a new mother. My life is more full, is what I will say. I felt like I had everything before the baby, and now I don't sleep as much, but there's a lot more depth to life and its meaning, and my priorities definitely changed for the better.
Yeah, speaking of something, you've mentioned something right there, and I got to be honest with you. Yet another thing. I have so many. It's another thing I really appreciate about Brandon. He is fiercely protective of the privacy, and which I totally agree with 100%. And because a lot of times everybody lives their lives out in public eye, you know what? We're not always entitled to that. You know, do fans ever do they ever feel like they feel like they should have more than what they get? And how do you deal with that, like at conventions or you know, meets at a you know, signings or whatnot?
Boundaries it's a difficult thing, especially because we get excited and we love talking to fans because we are them too. Most people are very, very understanding and really respect it. Occasionally kind of have to break it down to people, just be very specific, but we really haven't had anyone make a bad experience of it. I had back in the day, I had some stalkers. I had some people who, you know, took it to a really unhealthy level, but in establishing those boundaries and some privacy, it has completely subsided, and I think most people are happy to accept what we share with them and share that with us, and have been really great about giving us the privacy for our family and especially the baby, since that happened too. So we're really lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like that. Unfortunately, it seems that's part of the handbook for, you know, for young actresses or screen queens or whatnot. They always feel like they're entitled to know more than what they should. You know, they always get they're a little bit more passionate. The horror fans are more passionate, right? I mean, I've seen that at conventions. You've seen that at conventions. Do you like doing conventions? Is that one of your favorite things? When as far as industry related. I mean, do you like doing stuff like that, or are you more like when I'm not shooting, I'm home?
I do like doing conventions because it's kind of like dropping you in the middle of your nerd out. Everyone around you is doing everything that makes you excited. So conventions are a lot of fun. The buzz can be a lot of fun. I did a lot of them years ago, and I stopped more recently because it was getting harder to keep those boundaries up. Social media was really revving up at that point, and so I think a lot of people were trying to figure out again where those boundaries should be and how to manage that. And I got to a point where I was feeling really pressured to constantly be touring, and then I got to the point I wasn't filming as much because I was doing so much touring with conventions, and I just didn't want to do that yet in my career. I feel like later on, again, as our family grows, there's more time to just slow it down and then spend with the fans talking about the films. But right now, while I have the energy, I want to get out there and just be creating as much as possible. So my focus right now is filming, but I miss the fans and I miss the excitement of conventions. So I'm going to do a few select ones in the next year or two here, just to get out and say hi to everybody again. But I don't think I'm going to take it on as aggressively as I had in the past.
I only got a couple more questions. So I'm going to let if people in the chat, if you have any questions for our guest Devanny, please feel free to drop them in the chat. So what's Damon like?
What's what like?
What's Damon like working for?
Damon?
Mm-hmm.
Damon is super, super fun. He's a cutie pie, and he's an interesting mix of business and pleasure, and like also a nerd out filmmaker. Usually it's one or the other. Damon is an interesting mix. I believe he used to be a fashion model, if I remember correctly. So he's been in front of the camera, and he's now behind it, and he's just very knowledgeable, very put together, very business-minded, very successful business person, and also gets it creatively, which is a rare combination. So I had a really, really fun time kind of poking around and getting to know him while we were filming, and I think there's a lot of potential there for some really awesome collabs, and I hope we get to keep working together.
What was it like? Who's been your best scene partner that you really enjoyed working with?
You're gonna get me in trouble. I can't say that. I'm gonna plead the fifth on that one. I don't know. Why didn't you say me?
I'll tell you what. We'll expand it to 5. There you go. 5. You can do 5 scene partners, male and female.
Oh my gosh. Ryan Kaiser. Scene partner. Ryan Kaiser. Tara.
I'm really glad you said that, because believe it, I'm a Tara fan. I'm a Tara fan.
She was incredible. She really was. Her energy just. I mean, what a prolific career. She's just incredible. Not one of my scene partners, but he was on this last movie I just produced, Christos Andrews. I need to give a shout out to, because he was just absolutely amazing professional. And Louis Mandalore, incredible comedic actor turned action star turned dramatic actor. There's just so much range there. Camera loves him. It's incredible. Gosh, they're putting me on the spot. I'm gonna get such.
Did you work any scenes with Casper?
I had just one brief moment with Casper, so I didn't get to really spend the time with him like I wanted to.
Casper can be 5. Would I get you off the hook? Let's do that. Let's get you off. I'll get you off the hook with. We'll say Casper.
Casper was. I mean, who's not a fan of Casper? Like that's the thing is, I've worked with a million people now. If you say Casper Van, I don't know a single person who isn't like, oh my gosh, for one reason or another. He just exudes awesomeness. I'm not going to disrespect him by saying like my one line in one scene with him was sharing the screen per se, because we filmed now 2 movies together, but we just really haven't been in any of the same scenes. So I would love that to change. That would be amazing. But
Yeah.
I'm going to give him the respect and say that I was not sharing the screen with him, and if anything, exactly, just getting out of the way so he can shine. Because he does.
I'm very impressed you did the Battle of Saipan, and you know a little bit about it. Did you research that role before you took it?
I actually helped Brandon do the initial research for the story pitch and the script. So, because I'm very passionate about World War II, I love history, and especially that era. So I spent a lot of time in the past researching that era, and so I had a couple of ideas when the producers came to Brandon and needed a World War II movie. I kind of knew the direction that I wanted to pitch him on, even though I was not even involved at this point. And I'm like, you should do that. That's what you were talking about earlier, where we like collaborate on stuff. That was totally like, his partner being like, hey, you should do this. But he had a story based on a real life individual that we had wanted to tell a story for years, and it just really deserved a budget. And it wasn't exactly right for the parameters that the financiers wanted for this one, but the material was in the realm of it. So we got to pull some inspiration from some real true stories and incorporate it very loosely into the story for this movie. So it's very, very loosely inspired by some amazing heroes of that generation in that war.
You know what? That's awesome. You're a World War II buff. I find that amazing. That's so cool. I'm not really surprised by that though. I don't know why. I don't know why, but it doesn't surprise me though that you are.
Really?
No, it doesn't. No, I'm being dead honest. I won't sit here and tell you, oh my God, really? No, I'm really not surprised. I'm not surprised. You seem so well rounded and
well, thank you.
I know you love to read. I've seen you mention that a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I know that. So that's amazing. When will the Flood and the Battle of Saipan come out?
I don't have release dates yet. Unfortunately, I do know that one has been delivered, and the other is the final phase of the post. So I know the distributor is going to make those announcements, I believe, pretty soon here. The second that I have them, I'll absolutely share them with you.
Okay. All right. So my very last question is, what are you going to be doing next?
So I am promoting a bunch of releases, actually. On July 19th, my torture movie with Michael Madsen, Costas Mandylor, and Sarah French comes out in select theaters and VOD. So if you like really intense gore, if you're a Saw fan, then you're going to love this stuff. It's getting great reviews from horror fans. I have an awesome test scene. So you should definitely check that one out. I'll get you a screener. I should have got you a screener before this.
Not the final girl. Okay.
No. Yeah. So that comes out. That's a super fun movie if you're into that. And then I have in August, I made a cameo in a movie called Of the Devil that has Vernon Wells and Eileen Dietz from The Exorcist in it. And it's more of a traditional exorcism film, but it's made by some really amazing filmmakers, very passionate about it. Had a lot of fun. Just popped in there quick as a doctor. And that comes out on VOD. Oh my gosh, she's going to kill me. I forgot the date. We'll put it in the comments, but it's in August, coming out in August. So you can check that out. And then Frost, my movie Frost is the last smaller budget movie that Brandon did with me, also with Vernon Wells. It's about a father and daughter who are rekindling an estranged relationship. and they go out into the woods to spend time together, up in the mountains, and they get into a car wreck and are stranded, and it starts to get colder and colder, and they slowly are freezing to death.
Okay.
It's really awesome. I filmed it pregnant.
Oh.
So I did all my own stunts, all my own action, totally pregnant. We should have talked about that, actually. That was the hardest shit I've ever had to do. We filmed with a real wolf. That was my first time working with live animals instead of CGI elements. So there's some really, really cool stuff in there. It's coming out through Cleopatra Entertainment Records. They also have a vinyl release of the soundtrack coming up with some awesome musicians attached to it. Like they tapped into their resources and their connections. They got us some really cool talent for that. The DVD just got announced for pre-order. And if you pre-order the DVD, it comes with a free bonus CD of the soundtrack too. So lots of fun coming up.
I booked a few bands off the Cleopatra label back in the day.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm showing my age here.
I gonna be totally honest, and I'm so sorry if they watch this. I wasn't as familiar with their stuff. As soon as Brandon found out that was who was commissioning this movie, he kind of nerded out a little bit. So I guess you guys have a lot of the same, but you guys talked about that. You have a lot of the same music taste. So was super, super excited about it. I spent a little time getting to know their stuff, and now, of course, I'm a fan too. And just really, really amazing access to music for this. So hopefully they love us and let us have access to their catalog going forward.
I can't wait for upcoming projects. And yeah, you're right. We should have talked about that. But I said I'd let you go after that because I want you to go back to the family. I can't thank you enough, Devanny, for doing this. This has been a lot of fun.
It's so overdue.
Yeah, but you know what, though? The good things are always worth waiting for.
Thank you so much. You're so sweet. And I tell you what, I'm going to get you screeners for all the stuff that's coming up, and then maybe we can do a follow-up in a few months and talk about the new movies.
Definitely. We'll do that. I promise.
Okay.
I want to thank you again for coming out, and I'll let you go, and we'll stay in touch.
Absolutely will. And thank you, everybody who watches this.
Have a great night. Devanny Pinn, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Wow, what a terrific lady. Good actress, too. Let me tell you. The Dawn is a movie, if you're a horror fan like we are, like I am, and the Cheetah, I recommend you guys pick it up. I know I didn't say this on there. I do know that I have seen the movie in Dollar Tree. So it's out there for some of their ways. You can probably get it probably at Hamilton Book or any other secondary markets, eBay or Amazon. You'll be able to pick up a copy of it there. Well worth picking up, well worth adding to your horror collection. And the ending of the movie is one for the books. It's catchy. It'll be you'll be really pleasantly surprised. So yeah, thank you guys for coming out. And again, tomorrow night, we have two shows tomorrow at 2:00 Eastern time. We have Tom Joleffe from Flickering Myth magazine, and he's a screenwriter for When Darkness Falls and about 30 other movies that he's written. And then at 8:00 tomorrow night, we have actress Danny Inks will be with us. And then Thursday at 9 p.m., not 8, but 9 p.m., we will be talking and interviewing Gory from Gory B Movie. And she'll be here with us on Thursday at 9 p.m. So I really do appreciate you guys coming out and supporting the show. I know you guys could be doing a lot of different things, but I'm glad you spent it with us. And we will talk at you guys tomorrow, huh? Thank you, Betty. I appreciate that. I'll be putting all Devanny's information down below in the description box. So if you want to follow her on Instagram and check out her IMDb page or whatnot, I will put that all in the box, and you guys can check it out and support her. And that's it for me and the Cheetah. We are out of here. Thank you again so much. Be safe and be kind. Peace.